When it comes to franchising, you control your destiny, right? This is the best time for you to come in and get into an investment that you can solely drive with your grit, with your tenacity, with your commitment to build something that can be a legacy for your family going forward, and you don't have to just rely on the stock markets. You have more control over building something that can get you even higher return that you may see in the equity market. So now is the right time to really start that process so that when you get to a place where you can diversify even more from stock markets and things like that, you have this great asset that you've built up over time that just gives you that much more flexibility.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we have a guest coming in, and I think it's the first time we've had this guest on our podcast. We've had some other part of one of the biggest badasses franchise groups in the world. So we've had somebody with them on before, but this is the first time with this guy. He was so awesome as a guest on our the Franchising 360 show, our TV show last Friday. Like, dude, we got to have you come on the podcast and talk a little bit more and share some more. So excited to go through this today. First, as always, a quick reminder of who we are before we get to our guest. FranCoach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. And if so, we're going to help you find your absolute best fit. Our educational approach ensures we focus on the client's best interest. We are not here to sell you a franchise. In fact, we don't sell anything. Finding the best franchise owned is an incredibly personalized and individualized process that can only work with a team of experts focused on what is truly most important. That's you. FranCoach, our services are always 100% free to use, so reach out to our team. Click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, everyone, we are back on the Franchising 101 podcast. I almost said the wrong thing. This guy was just a guest on our Franchising 360 show. So many things going on here. He's so famous. We've got him all over the place. But back on the Franchising 101 podcast is the Group Vice President at Neighborly Brands, Mr. Brian Woods. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me as always, Tim.
Good to see you. And you are, I said this to you when we had you on the TV show the other day, is you are always the, if not the, one of the most well-dressed, dapper dudes in franchising. And I don't know that I've ever seen you in just like a sweatshirt, but I love the little Neighborly sweat logo right there.
Well, I wore it for you. I thought I'll make it a Neighborly logo kind of day. I thought I'll leave the blazer at home today and represent the Neighborly house logo. So,
yeah. Well, and what does somebody like say? I don't know, a podcast host or a TV show host that has you on as a guest. What do we have to do to get some Neighborly swag around here?
Man, you need to have me on at least once a month. Maybe some Chipotle gift cards. Some things like that will always bode well.
So bribe you. Got it. Okay.
I wouldn't use the word bribe, but favors are always very well appreciated around here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So thank you for Brian joining us. I've got a bunch of things with Neighborly. I think we've got some good things just franchising in general that I want to address with you. But always like starting with our guest. As you know, you've been in this industry a long time. Franchising is a people business. Give us a little bit of the scoop on Brian, kind of your background and how did you get into franchising? Yeah,
well, interesting. I didn't have a traditional route into franchising. I did a couple of different, roles and we're in different industries coming up into it. But starting now, right, I'm the Group Vice President, as you said, of Franchise Development at Neighborly. Been with Neighborly now for about 4.5 years where, I'm responsible for, a group of brands that repair the home, right? Neighborly is the largest franchisor of home services. I'm sure we'll get into that as well. So have about 4.5 years of franchising experience with Neighborly. Prior to Neighborly, I was with G6 Hospitality, which is the parent company of Motel 6 and Studio 6, the economy hotel chain. and I did franchise development there for about 6 years. So all in all, about 10 plus years of franchise development experience. The way I got into this is actually through the economics and the analytics of it all, right? My career started in finance and strategy. And my first role at G6 Hospitality was in a strategy role, helping franchise development understand, what's the priority markets they want to get in, create a lead generation strategy, growth plan, et cetera. And through that role, it gave me the opportunity to start working with franchise development more intimately. And I also start working with investors and hotel investors. Using my finance background, I was able to work with investors to basically bring them in to franchise development for hotels. And once I did that, it was like a light just went off. The ability to connect with people, to help them, get to where they want to get to from a success perspective and be that trusted advisor just really resonated with me and what I really wanted to do. So I retired the PowerPoint and the Excel files and got into the handshaking business and building relationships.
I think that it's distinctly possible with your background, education and work background. You might be the smartest person in franchise development. So I don't know how you kind of slipped over here slumming on this side, but how is that your kind of analytical brain? How has that helped you, or has that helped you on the franchise development side?
Yes, it has. It's because it's 50-50, right? Because a lot of the work we do is going to be more, qualitative, relationship based. But there is a quantitative aspect to it as well, by understanding metrics, understanding, average growth rates, what macroeconomic factors, those things help us understand how to communicate with candidates so that we can meet them where they are and help them get to where they want to get to. So I do, resort to our spreadsheets, right? I don't create and build them as much as I used to, but I still use them to understand, not just our candidates, but also the teams, our internal teams. How are we performing? How are we working with the leads? How are we, from a close rate perspective, right? So just using the data to, pretty much glean insights on how to better lead our teams and also better help our candidates.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that here in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about Neighborly, and for somebody that maybe first, how dare them, this being the first episode of the podcast they've ever listened to, get caught up, folks. We've had some other Neighborly people on here in the past, but give us a high level look at Neighborly and just kind of the growth and how many brands are involved here for Neighborly.
No, absolutely. So Neighborly, we're the largest franchisor of home services. We've been around for 40 plus years. We went from maybe 2 brands 40 plus years ago to now approximately 19 brands, at least in North America, 32 brands globally. And, all of our brands revolve around home services. And out of those 19 brands, they are categorized into 3 different groups. One is repair. So any business or franchise concept that repairs the home is in that division. We also have maintain. So anything that maintains your home is going to be in that division. And last is enhance, is specialty. So any enhancement type of projects and services that you need for your home will fall into that group. So all of those 19 brands are split probably about a third a piece in all those. Some of the great aspects of Neighborly is the ability to leverage our size. We have over 5,500 franchise locations in our system. And that really translates to the purchasing power that we can provide to our owners who needs to get any type of goods or services for their businesses. And as a result, we've created a group called Pro Trade Net. And Pro Trade Net is roughly 275 vendors that, service our owners with the best possible pricing on anything they need for their business. And then in addition to the purchasing power, there's also a lot of synergies within the different franchise locations within the territory from a cross marketing perspective. Because a lot of times many territories or cities, right, may have more than one neighborly franchise. Those owners do a really great job of doing cross marketing projects, promotions, et cetera, that are very efficient or can save money because you're splitting costs on a lot of these different initiatives to help build business, because they're not competing directly with other neighborly services because they're all doing this something very distinct, right?
Yeah.
So, so the ability to work with each other to build business and essentially raise the level of performance in that territory of all neighborly brands is something that a lot of owners find very, very valuable. But yeah, that's, I think, in a nutshell, the neighborly history and, some of the cool things that we provide our owners.
No, and I think you hit two that I really I feel like Neighborly does incredibly well, and I'm always surprised that some other kind of groups of franchises or parent or platform company that they don't do more of that, and especially some of the cross marketing. Now it helps. You've got 19 brands, so I'm guessing it's pretty hard for you to have an owner of one of those 19 brands go into a market and go, I am the only neighborly owner here, right? Like maybe it can still happen somewhere, but there's usually going to be a handful of them, if not a good chunk of them in that market already. You guys are doing, even before they open, a lot of marketing to all of those other, hey, you've been a customer of us here. Now we're here for, this new brand. Do you find, which is great behind the scenes, it helps those new owners get going. Do you find the owners in the same market do they really enjoy kind of having that almost like it's almost like a sibling or a cousin, so to speak, already in there that they can share resources, referral sources, customers? Do you see that happening often? Are their owners pretty eager to be able to have those relationships?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it comes down to our culture, right? We have a very family oriented culture. So it's like welcoming someone to the neighborhood or the family with these owners. And they are more than happy to assist new owners coming into the system, into their territory. And again, another example of synergies that we see in certain territories is that owners can share, commercial locations and office locations, right? They may have a place with a few suites, and you can go in there. It'll be a Mr. Rooter, a 5-star painting, and a glass doctor, right?
Yeah.
So, there's some other synergies there that these owners can benefit from. But at the end of the day, everyone truly understands that we're all in this together, and everyone is working together to a common goal, which is to, bring business not just to their own individual businesses, but to overall neighborly and raise the cachet of the brand as well.
So how do you kind of balance that, right? You've got this incredible size and the buying power. I mean, and I've heard some of the stories on the buy, like next time I want a vehicle, I want you to buy it for me, right? Because I know you're going to get it way cheaper, right? And so somebody else, I said that to one of your other neighborly people one time. They're like, yeah, I can do that. You just have to own one of our brands. I'm like, so you have these great things, but you have this size and so much support and business coaches and marketing and all this stuff. But then there's still a family feel. How do you kind of thread that needle? Because that's not easy to do at the size that Neighborly is, to still keep that family feel to it.
Yeah. And I think what it is that every brand boils down to the brand level, the types of, engagement that they have with their owners. So, Neighborly is, world renowned for our reunion, which is our annual conference, right? To have 4,000 plus owners there once a year, or every other year now, I should say, which is one way to start building that camaraderie. But hey, that can be daunting for many, right? 4,000 people, that seems like a lot, right? Yeah. But most brands have their own individual conferences and regional meetings and opportunities for the owners themselves to get together, network, learn from each other, and build those relationships. So it's all about boiling down to the lowest level of intimacy for the owners, to ensure that they're getting that, camaraderie, but also the attention that they need from the support staff, right? To get what they need from a marketing perspective, from an IT perspective, from operations perspective, so that it doesn't feel like a large company, but they're getting the attention that they need to feel like if they were in a small company.
Yeah. Well, because when you think about it, it's really almost 19 smaller companies underneath one big massive one, right? So you're still able to have the specifics of the, an owner of 5-star painting may need some specific coaching different than a Mr. Rooter or Mr. Electric or whatever, right? So you're still able to have that kind of personalization with it. So very cool. Talk about I want to look back a little bit and then look ahead a little bit for Neighborly and just franchising. So a lot of things in our world going on. It feels like there's just constant crazy, like stay off of social media because you don't know what the heck is going on, whether real or not. So how was 2025 for Neighborly? Were there struggles? Was it a good year? How did that turn out for you guys?
We had a really good year. We had a great year. Financially, we had some goals that we were looking at. And, there's a couple of highlights that, we're really, really proud of achieving in 2025. And, one thing that Neighborly is known for that we may talk about a little later is just veterans, right? We are a very pro-veteran franchisor. We were a founding member of VetFriend, which is a program that, helps lower the cost of investment initially for veterans coming in. That's, transitioning from the service world to entrepreneurship. And we have really made it a concerted effort to, dedicate our time to recruit and bring in veterans because veterans historically have done very, very well in our system. Yeah. And it's also just the right thing to do, right? We thank them for their service all the time. We really appreciate everything that they have done. And we want to make sure that we look after them the best way we possibly can. So when I look in 2025, we, signed over 60 veterans last year alone, right? Which represents almost 30% of all the owners that we brought in 2025, right? And those numbers are staggering because, that's more than, most Zors are going to say they've done, right? 30% of their candidates are veterans. So our veterans are for us, right? So really proud of that. We also hit some unit goals that we were really, really proud of. The repair brands, right? Like the brands that I cover, we had a really, really good year. And it just continues to show, how recession resilient, those brands are, no matter, like you said, what's going on. There's a lot of volatility. You don't know what's happening from day to day. Right. But we do know what's happening day to day with these brands. They are being consistent and continue to perform. So our brands in that space had a really, really good year.
Well, and especially from a repair standpoint, which is kind of the biggest thing you're overseeing with Neighborly, right? So is like it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy here. Here in the dead of the winter, if all of a sudden our heat doesn't work, that's not an optional thing, right? Like I'm not gonna get some old trash can and build a fire over here, right? Like we need that, and so you have that. But how across some of the other brands within Neighborly, your enhance and maintain brands, that people can make an argument of like, no, I can clean my house myself. Well, no, I'm not gonna, or whatever it might be. How did and I know it's not exactly your area, but you saw pretty much the same thing in those brands as well, as things just keep kind of trucking along and just overall in home service, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And because there's still this one common trend that we continue to see when it comes to homeowners. Homeowners value their time, right? Yeah. Just this past weekend, this is just me. I'm a homeowner. Most of us have a home, right? And, there were a couple of items that needed to be done around the house, some to-do, honey-do lists, right? And instead of getting on YouTube and trying to figure out how to fix this faucet and do this and that, I just pay someone to do it because I'd rather go to my daughter's basketball game and go run errands than figure out how to fix this faucet, which takes me 4 or 5 hours, right? Right. So even the services that you may potentially be able to do yourself, many people are just valuing their time and want to still have someone do it so they can get that time back. So that was specifically relevant to the enhance and maintain, because again, a lot of those services may be things like, you can do it on your own, cutting your grass or painting your bedroom, but you want your time now. And that's what we've been able to benefit from.
Yeah, correct. And I think it's home service. It just, no matter what's going on, even you go, way back now to the pandemic, but is the housing market booming? Is it not? Right. We're selling houses and buying houses. So we're moving into someplace new and we're like, oh, I've got to do I like the house, but I want this, and this fixed. And most of us are like, I'm either, even if I can do it, I'm better off, again, from a time standpoint, having that. And then now if people aren't buying houses, it's like, well, it looks like we're going to be here a little bit longer, honey. So let's take advantage of those projects. Right. And so,
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of that, Tim, the latter. I was just going to mention that, but
Yeah.
In certain markets, some people are just quite frankly priced out of,
Yeah.
getting homes, right? So many people are deciding to stick it out in their home and they want it to be a little bit more comfortable. And then there's also a long-term play as well, because a lot of these, projects they're doing, in the event that they do decide to sell,
Yeah.
they've already put the renovations in already. Let's get these rooms repainted.
Right.
Let's get this landscaping project. We have stone, do all these other things.
Right.
So it's making it comfortable for them now, but then also enhancing the value of the home that they do sell in the future.
Now, so we talked about some of those things from a volatility standpoint and crazy standpoint or whatever, but now we're, a couple of weeks into January in 2026 already. Why now for franchising? Or do you feel like maybe this isn't a time you should look at it? What do you see kind of moving forward from that? Again, we've got our listeners out there that are like, geez, I don't know if I should do this or not. You've been doing this a long time and around a lot of great brands. What do you see as kind of why now or why not now for somebody?
Yeah, I think now is the best time to go into business for yourself, right? There's a lot of different options for investments and you have a 401, you have the stock markets and things like that. And, if you watch those things weekly, daily, I mean, it can give you a heart attack one day. You can feel really good the next. You feel like you got to, go bankrupt the day after. So the volatility that's, in the market, is just very unpredictable. And you don't have any control over that, right? You're just, a innocent bystander seeing what's happening in the market. But when it comes to franchising, you control your destiny, right? This is the best time for you to come in and get into an investment that you can solely drive with your grit, with your tenacity, with your commitment to build something that can be a legacy for your family going forward, and you don't have to just rely on the stock markets. You have more control over building something that can get you even higher return that you may see in the equity market. So now is the right time to really start that process so that when you get to a place where you can diversify even more from stock markets and things like that, you have this great asset that you've built up over time that just gives you that much more flexibility.
Yeah, no, and I've had people like kind of call me out on like, now is a good time. Yes, like there's honestly, I don't know that there's a situation where there is a bad time for franchising, because it just kind of is for all times. Is the economy good? Is the economy bad? Job market good? Job market bad? Right? Like it's hard to find jobs, and then even when people have them, I just talked to somebody earlier today that was a few years back and got another job, kind of came back and kind of like, I'm bored. I don't like the job. Like, correct, right? So do you want that overall control of what your life is? And you mentioned the legacy thing, and I don't know that we talk about it enough in franchising. The job you have, you get paid as long as you're there, and it's probably not going to be your choice when you're not going to be there anymore. Somebody's going to tell you when your time is done. Even if it's your choice, you don't get to sell that job to the next person. You don't get to say, hey, I'm regional director of blah, blah, blah. Let me sell that position or let me give it to my kid. It's just poof, you're done and you're on to the next thing. But franchising is an asset that you can sell. You can pass on to your kids. I know Neighborly's been around a long time. I'm sure you guys have second, maybe even third generation owners within your system that have really been able to build kind of generational wealth from ownership, right? I'm guessing you've seen a lot of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of things we've seen on that front, and that's the first one, is that these owners have done such a great job of building very successful businesses that they're looking for an exit. And usually their first exit is, hey, I'm going to let my son-in-law or my daughter run this, or my son and his family, whatever it is. They have a plan in place where they transition this off to family members. And then this becomes their next generation's vehicle for financial independence and legacy and ability to do the things that they want to do. So, that's one way that we've seen, people kind of manage their business towards the end in sunsetting. But then also, too, we also see people who just, like you said, flat out sell the business and just reap the financial gains of building that business. And,
Right.
Neighborly, just a quick, kind of plug on some of the services that we do, right? Neighborly is one of the few franchisors with a dedicated resales team, right? And our resales team actively works with our franchise owners who are, looking to maybe sell. And we help make that process a lot smoother by, working with brokers, working with the investment community to help find the right suitor for their businesses, no matter what size business they have. We really do a great job of making sure that owner, has a transition plan when they're ready to make that move.
Well, and I would assume with as many owners as you have, there are times, one of the franchise owners wants to sell their unit. Maybe there's another owner within Neighborly that's like, hey, I'm ready to expand. I would even like that. Like, you've got a great internal market before it even gets outside, correct?
Absolutely. We normally start inside, internally, and make sure that, owners are aware that, this owner is looking to sell their business. So, that's usually the first step, because they already are in the business. They already operate the business. So from a risk perspective, it's a lot lower from a Neighborly view, right? Because
correct.
We're basically giving it to someone who's already doing the business as is, and it makes sense. So that's the first step. But then if there isn't a, suitable existing owner looking to purchase it, then we broaden our horizons and try to find the right person to come in. And believe it or not, we've seen, numbers that show that even when we bring in someone new to take over a new business or a new territory from an existing owner, we see a jump in performance right away, because they come in with that extra energy, that juice, right, to get it going faster. So it works that way as well.
I feel no matter how well somebody has run their business, when they know they are selling, there's just a natural let off the gas a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's steady, but it's not on an incline anymore at that point, because you're like, I know I'm out, right? So good. I want to come back to the veteran side of things. And so two things with that is, one, you guys made a kind of an internal, like, higher position, somebody from a veteran standpoint. Talk a little bit about kind of that role and how that has played into kind of the impact of having 30% of your new owners last year are vets.
Yeah. Again, great number. We're really proud of that. But one of the biggest reasons that we were able to see that performance is that we've really invested in the recruitment and identification of qualified veterans to be business owners. And one of the ways we've done that is we've actually hired a full-time dedicated person that's responsible for helping us work with veterans. His name is Tommy Jones. He is the director of veteran relations, and he works with owners, or not even owners, but candidates early in our process to, pretty much give them a perspective of, what it's like to be an owner. Here's some of the things you should, look for as you go through the process. Because since he's a veteran himself, he provides that, what I call street cred, right? Of, talking veteran to veteran, I'm not a veteran myself, but, I have family members that are veterans, but I can't speak as if I am a veteran. Right. So, Tommy can speak to them as a veteran, and he just provides that level of credibility and trust that really helps these candidates go through the process a lot smoother. And being that resource also extends past them signing as a candidate into a new owner when they're ramping up their business, right? Tommy helps them get certified as a veteran-owned business. He helps provide resources and guidance on how to recruit veterans for their business. Yeah. So it's a real soup to nuts type of service that we provide our veterans. And we continue to stay involved in, different initiatives where we go and speak to veteran communities, where we're participating in different events and conferences around the country that focus on, veterans transitioning out of their service into entrepreneurship. So really good momentum going there.
Because and I'm glad you touched on that. It's not just like, hey, let's help some people, veterans, come in and be franchise owners. It's also helping them after the fact once they get started. And then even not every veteran wants to be a franchise owner, but now how can they employ veterans as well in those positions around? So that's fantastic. And why? And I think this is not exclusive to Neighborly. I think it's a franchising thing in general. veterans typically make very good franchise owners. Like from your experience, why is that?
Well, they know how to execute a plan, right? Franchising is really about following and executing a plan, a blueprint, like I like to call it,
Right.
of how to be successful in business. And a lot of veterans, just through a lot of different experiences that they've had in the service, it's all about, putting plans together, following to a T, having the grit and the tenacity to see a mission through. And, we see veterans tackle business ownership and franchising the exact same way. So, they have been very successful, which is why, not just it's being the right thing to do, but they also turn out to be really strong franchise owners as well.
Yeah, I love it. And just for anybody that's, again, thinking about possibly becoming a franchise owner, you kind of hit on it there relative to veterans, but is it fair to say the biggest thing you're looking for somebody as a franchise owner, follow the dang plan, right?
Yes.
From that, I mean, that yet, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing. Like people sign a franchise agreement that we work with. I literally tell them what I need you to do now. And these, again, smart, successful people prior to this point in their life. And I'm like, you need to be dumb right now and just put your head down. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And do what you say. And as much as you say it, we say it, everybody says it, there's going to be times people come in there and just can't quite help themselves with that. Talk about some of the support you have for owners especially at the beginning to ensure they are doing the best they can to follow the plan, and making sure that they are executing everything to get off to the best possible start. I know you guys have a bunch of different kind of resources there within Neighborly. Talk about some of those things at the beginning stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all starts with what we call a Sure Start team. And our Sure Start team is, essentially our onboarding team. So as soon as a candidate signs on to be a franchise owner of a brand, one of the first things they do is they meet with their Sure Start coordinator. And this coordinator is going to sit down with them and pretty much create a timeline and a checklist, right, of everything that needs to be done before they even open up their doors for business. So that goes from training to certifications to recruiting, everything that needs to be done prior to opening up the business. We have that dedicated Sure Start person working with them every step of the way. So they get out the gate strong. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we have that dedicated, franchise business coach who works with them. It could be a weekly, bi-weekly basis, and make sure that they're doing everything from an operational perspective to run their business as efficiently as possible. And then you add in from a marketing perspective, there's usually a local marketing specialist that helps that owner in their local territory come up with the best marketing strategy to get their business up and going and get the leads that they need. And then from there, you have our IT help who, is going to make sure that you are completely onboarded and have access to the systems that you need to run your business, to take your calls, do everything you need from that standpoint. And that's on the dedicated level, right? There are some macro things that we also do too. Yeah. And Neighborly, one thing I didn't touch on is we've really invested in our marketing automation in our AI. So we have that embedded across all of our brands to all of our systems that these owners take advantage of, that makes things cheaper and a lot more efficient for them as well. So those are things I feel are some really key support mechanisms for our owners.
So with all of the support but there's, darn good and well, there's always in people when they're thinking about this, there's always that fear, like, yeah, but what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What have you seen and you and I both know it usually doesn't happen very often, but what would cause somebody to fail, whether it's an owner of Neighborly or anywhere? What's the thing that maybe you've seen stand out in those, even if it's not a full, like, oh my God, it's an abject failure, a really difficult struggle at the beginning? What have you seen cause that?
Two things for me, right? The first one is we already alluded to, when you're not following the system. If you don't follow the system, that is a road to destruction typically, right? Yeah. So when we see people that don't follow the system and do what they're supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, we do see them struggle, right? So we try our best to get them back on track, to get on the system and hopefully start seeing some improvement. The second one is just going to be the lack of grit, because owners, right, it need this tenacity, this grit, this can do, won't fail mentality to just do whatever it needs to be done to be successful. So if you don't have that commitment and that drive to be, do anything you have to do to be successful, we see that as another, factor in overall success.
Yeah. Because again, all the plans in the world and all the systems and support in the world, guess what? At some point, what is going to hit the fan. And
Yes.
like if you are the consummate armchair quarterback that doesn't ever want to like figure stuff out, maybe you just keep your job, right? Because
Yes.
there is going to be those things with you. And I always think kind of that the grit. I think the other thing that comes up, and there's probably a few things in franchising we don't talk about enough, but just having that positive attitude, right? Because again, if you're like, oh man, that happened and I don't know what to do, and all you're doing is complaining and bitching, and you're like Eeyore, nobody's going to want to work for you either, right? And so you're going to really have that standpoint. So kind of that, I like how you talk about that, because it is huge without question, right? So
yeah. And that's what I say too. Just one last thing on that, just in regards to lowering your rate of failure, you want to go into franchising. Franchising lowers the rate of failure, right? There's a stat that shows that after 5 years, right, 50% of businesses that are not franchised are still in business, right? So only 50% of those. Where with franchise models, if after 5 years, 85% of businesses that are franchised are still in business. So there's like a 35-point improvement in the franchise model and success rate. So if that doesn't tell you something right there, I don't know what does.
Yeah, and I like when it was. I know a few years back it was running I think COVID kind of dinged that a little bit for everything, but it was a little closer to 90%. I saw another chart that said after 5 years, roughly 90% of marriages are still intact, right? You're like,
yeah.
Again, when you find, which also goes back to even within Neighborly, one brand might be great for you, the other 18 might not be a fit. You've got to find that perfect fit for you. There's not a best franchise from that, but if you find that fit, which is kind of the marriage component of it, and you put forth the effort and you follow the plan and you listen to your wife, like those things, which is usually all goes
well. You usually land on top if you do those two things. Absolutely.
Yes, correct. All great stuff. I want to throw one more thing at you and thank you again for your time. Always greatly enjoy our conversations. So somebody that's maybe out there and they're thinking, right? Like, geez, is this for me? Should I explore further? And one thing I would love to get you back another time, specifically to talk about you as a franchise owner, because in the middle of all the stuff you're doing with Neighborly, dude, you're a franchise owner also, right? And so
I am.
You got a couple things on your plate. So if you're open to that, I'd love to chat with you about that. But
absolutely.
So what's a piece of advice that you would give somebody that's still not sure if this is the path that they should take in general?
I think the first thing I would tell them is to first take their time and do the due diligence and the research around the options that you're thinking may be a good fit, right? Because this is an investment in time, resources, maybe even family resources, everything. So you want to make sure you do the prep work in advance to ensure that you're on the right path. The second thing is you have to bet on yourself. You have to believe in yourself because, I'm that what we call corporate refugee, where you kind of have that 9 to 5 role, and you can get, very comfortable with the consistency of, paychecks, what you're getting versus not. And, it's just a lot of consistency there. And sometimes people just really find it hard to, take that leap of faith and go into business ownership. And I'm telling them that you can do it. I'm saying that it's worth it. To your point, Tim, you've already talked a little bit about my, franchise business as a franchise owner. It's also a growth opportunity because I've learned so much about myself through this process that I never knew anything about being a franchise owner, the grit and tenacity. So, you learn a lot about yourself, but you have to bet on yourself and believe in yourself and know that you can do this, right? So at the end of the day, after you do the research, think about what's the best approach that you can take for the brand you want to go with, and just go 200% all in. Yeah. Don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah, it is, because you're betting on yourself in that situation, right? And and I'm sure you see it too with your candidates. Look in this, and we talk to ours about it. They get to the end, boy, and it's like we're there. We know it's it. Some fear starts creeping in, and one of the things I'm always like talking to people about is like, when in your past professional history have you been a miserable failure, right? Like. And usually and I always say professional because we've all screwed things up personally. That doesn't count, right?
Absolutely.
So from a professional standpoint, and most of the time people are like, well, I haven't really. Well, why do you think it's going to be now? Or if they has is, well, I had this one job and boy, it was terrible. Did you like anything you were doing there? Nope. Okay. Would you like everything we talked about doing for this business opportunity? Oh yeah, totally. Then again, if you can have that, like, and not everybody does, and that's okay. Most people don't, right? But if you're like, yep. I trust myself more than anybody else, then franchise ownership, regardless of the brand, franchise ownership can absolutely be a great fit.
Absolutely. And then, but what people need to also remember is that every job, every experience in their careers, it's making them ready for this. Yeah. Because I am leaning on a lot of experiences that I've had in different roles throughout my career. And so without even knowing it, I have been preparing for this the whole time. So, everything you're doing has some value that you can use in your business. Yeah,
no, I love it. Brian, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on to chat with us today. And just as always, great speaking to you. I appreciate your time doing this. And then now, since I brought it up, I'm going to bug you about coming back on and flipping hats, and we'll take the big N off your shirt for Neighborly, and we'll put the other logo on there for that one if you're down for it.
Absolutely. Hey, I love being on your show, Tim. So please keep me on your calendar. Can't wait to be back on soon.
I got to get you on every month so I can get some swag. Is basically what I'm looking for there. So
Chipotle cards, Chipotle gift cards. Remember,
I got you. So Brian, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Franchising 101 podcast brought to you by FranCoach. I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the amazing possibilities that can be achieved through franchise ownership. In between podcast episodes, if you still want to learn more about franchising and the ways in which FranCoach can help, there are a few places for you to check out. First, tune in to the Franchising 360 show. It is the only nationally syndicated television show about franchising hosted by me and Danielle Wright. Our TV show airs every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. Next, check out the FranCoach YouTube channel, which is FranCoach for You. You can find tons of franchise-specific content there. Plus, you can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out our book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. You'll never guess what it's about. And finally, when you're ready to take that first personalized step and explore the franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at FranCoach. You can click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow.